Janine Butcher is coming back to EastEnders, and somehow, even before she has set foot back in Walford, trouble already seems to be waiting for her. New filming pictures have given us our first look at Charlie Brooks back in character as Janine since 2022, and these scenes are anything but quiet. Janine is outside a church, Linda Carter is there, Max Branning is nearby, a funeral is taking place, and judging by the tension between Janine and Linda, old wounds are about to be ripped wide open. But the biggest mystery is not simply why Janine is back. It's who has died. Because if a funeral is important enough to bring Janine Butcher back into the story, there is every chance this return is connected to something much bigger than a brief appearance. So today, we're breaking down what these new scenes reveal, why Linda may have every reason to fear Janine's return, and what Max Branning's presence could mean. Subscribe to Love Movies for more EastEnders spoilers, theories, and all the biggest drama from Albert Square. Janine Butcher has never needed much time to turn a difficult situation into complete chaos. Last month, it was reported that Charlie Brooks would reprise the role for a limited number of episodes. Now, location filming has confirmed that Janine is back, and one of the first people she appears to encounter is Linda Carter. That alone is enough to make these scenes explosive. Janine and Linda do not share the kind of history that can be brushed aside with an awkward hello. Their feud is tied directly to Mick Carter, to betrayal, to lies, and to one of the darkest chapters of Linda's life. Janine became involved with Mick and was desperate to build a future with him. But Linda remained the one person Janine could never completely remove from that relationship. Eventually, Janine's lies caught up with her. After trying to frame Linda over the car crash, Janine was exposed, arrested for perverting the course of justice, pleaded guilty, and received a 5-year prison sentence. All of that came after Mick disappeared at sea on Christmas Day. So when Linda sees Janine again, she is not simply looking at an old enemy. She is looking at someone tied to Mick's disappearance, to the collapse of her family, and to memories she has spent years trying to survive. And now they are meeting again at a funeral. That is not exactly the setting for a peaceful reunion. This is where the comeback becomes much more mysterious. Earlier filming pictures appeared to show cast members gathering for Zoe Slater's funeral amid reports surrounding Zoe's fate. That immediately led to speculation that Janine might somehow be connected to those scenes. But the newer photographs suggest Janine and Linda may be attending a different funeral altogether. And that changes the question completely. Who has died, and why would Janine be there? The obvious possibilities all lead back to her past. It could be someone connected to the Butcher family. It could be someone linked to Mick. Or the funeral may simply be the place where several separate storylines collide. That last possibility may be the most dangerous one. Janine has always had a talent for arriving at exactly the moment somebody else is at their most vulnerable. A funeral gives EastEnders the perfect setting for buried resentment to surface, old secrets to be mentioned, and people who would rather avoid each other to suddenly end up face to face. And the pictures of Janine and Linda certainly do not look like two women quietly paying their respects. Whatever is being said between them, the tension appears immediate. The funeral may be the mystery that brings viewers in. But Janine versus Linda could be the real explosion waiting underneath it. And then there is Max Branning. Jake Wood has also been photographed filming outside the church, and Max appears to be having a serious conversation with Linda. For longtime viewers, that image carries plenty of baggage. Max and Linda have their own complicated history, and their previous relationship caused enormous damage. So putting Max back in Linda's orbit at the exact same time Janine returns is not something viewers are going to ignore. EastEnders has already established that Max is set to marry Cindy, while flash-forward material has also teased another wedding taking place on New Year's Day. That does not automatically mean Max and Linda are heading back toward romance. Filming pictures can be deliberately misleading, and all we actually know from these images is that the two of them are talking. But EastEnders knows exactly what viewers will think when Max and Linda are placed together again. And Janine being there makes the situation even more volatile. Imagine Linda already dealing with the emotion of a funeral, then facing Janine again, while Max, another man connected to one of the most painful periods of her life, is standing nearby. Janine would barely need to do anything to get under Linda's skin. One comment could be enough, but there is an even more intriguing possibility. Janine may know something Linda doesn't. And if she arrives at that church holding information that gives her even the slightest advantage, this reunion could turn ugly very quickly. There is another reason this comeback cannot simply reset Janine and Linda to where they were in 2022. Janine gave birth to Mick's baby while serving her prison sentence. That creates a permanent connection between Janine and the man Linda lost. For Linda, that is emotionally complicated in almost every possible way. She has had to live with Mick's disappearance and with the fact that she never received the kind of closure she deserved. Now Janine can return carrying a reminder that Mick's life continued in a way Linda has had no control over. The child is innocent, but the connection is impossible to ignore. Linda may despise Janine, but Janine's baby is still Mick's child. That could create grief, resentment, protectiveness, and anger all at once. And Janine knows Linda well enough to understand exactly where the emotional weak points are. Even if the baby never appears in these funeral scenes, Mick is almost impossible to keep out of any confrontation between these women. He is the reason their feud became so destructive in the first place. Charlie Brooks has also acknowledged that Janine's return is happening. Speaking on This Morning, she joked that Janine can flit in and out of Walford and cause trouble, while also talking about how much she enjoys returning to the character and reconnecting with former colleagues. That description feels almost too perfect. Janine does not need months on screen to cause damage. Sometimes she only needs one entrance, one secret, and one person willing to take the bait. The key question now is what happens once the funeral is over. Does Janine actually return to Walford? Does she reconnect with people from her past? And why is EastEnders bringing Linda, Max, and Janine into the same cluster of scenes? The funeral could simply be a major emotional event that pulls several familiar faces together. But it could just as easily be the starting point for stories that continue after Janine disappears again. Max's conversation with Linda may turn out to be innocent. Janine's confrontation with Linda may be about old history and nothing more. But when all three characters appear around the same mysterious funeral, it is hard not to suspect that EastEnders wants viewers asking questions. There is also the practical mystery of Janine's prison sentence. She was sentenced to 5 years, so viewers will naturally want an explanation for why she is out and what her current circumstances are. That answer may be simple, but until the episodes air, it would be a mistake to assume too much. What we can say is that Janine is not being brought back to stand quietly at the edge of somebody else's story. She is already filming a confrontation with Linda. Max is there. A funeral is happening. And EastEnders is keeping the identity of the person being buried firmly under wraps. For Janine Butcher, that is almost the perfect recipe for disaster. So, Janine Butcher is officially on her way back, and her return already has all the ingredients of classic EastEnders chaos. A mysterious funeral. Linda Carter forced to face one of the women she hates most. Max Branning suddenly back in Linda's orbit, and the shadow of Mick Carter still hanging over every scene. But one question sits above all the others. Whose funeral are they attending? Because once EastEnders gives us that answer, we may finally understand why Janine has returned, and who she is about to hurt in the process. Do you think Janine is coming back simply to say goodbye to someone from her past? Or is she about to leave Walford in another mess before disappearing again? And would you like to see Charlie Brooks return permanently? Let me know your theories in the comments, subscribe to Love Movies for more EastEnders spoilers, and keep watching. Because if there's one thing we know about Janine Butcher, it's this. She rarely comes back without leaving somebody's life in pieces.